Hey guys, welcome back. Here is another video. Woohoo! Okay, so this video is about kokedama, but not just normal kokedama, self-watering kokedama. That's right, something that I created that I haven't seen anywhere. Depending on the plant, when you put a plant into kokedama, if it's a succulent, it'll do fine. At least for me, they do great as long as you don't overwater them. But if it's a tropical, moisture-loving plant, they tend to dry out, they'll wilt, you'll have to remind yourself to water them. So what I decided to do a little experiment on is watering these tropical kokedama, especially when they have a small root ball, using a wick system and a self-watering process. So let's start on the right here. This is a beautiful Coleus plant because aside from African violets, I love Coleus, periods in between each of those words. I really do. Coleus are just so easy. They're fun, they're beautiful. They do well inside, they do well outside. They are easy to propagate, and they're easy to and fun to experiment with because of all that. So this is a Coleus that I put into a kokedama, and it kept drying out way too quickly. So I decided to attach to it, to the bottom of the kokedama. Since I wrap all my kokedama in yarn, I decided to attach a yarn wick to it. And I'll show you what that looks like. Just a yarn wick that's attached, that goes relatively deep into the root ball, into the moss ball, okay? And that goes into a reservoir of water. And you can see, I don't fill the water all the way up to the top. I don't want it to actually touch the bottom of the kokedama because then it'll probably get a little bit too waterlogged. For this type of plant, I'm really not that worried because Coleus love moisture and they love water. But I figured let me just allow this oxygen space, this air space, and the wick goes all the way down to the bottom and then some. But this plant has been in this system for a few weeks now, and it is doing spectacular. Of course, it's under grow lights as well, which helps, but as far as moisture and no rotting, it is doing very, very, very well in this kokedama. So I wanted to show you that. I did a derivative of this with a different Coleus. Boom! Except this Coleus is in a kokedama of nothing but yarn. This is a ball of yarn, okay? And this Coleus is in the yarn, no moss, no soil, no nothing. And again, it has a wick system that goes into the water. This has also been in for a few weeks. I didn't want to do a video until I knew that there was a good reason to do a video. And the fact that this has been growing, it grew 2 new pairs of leaves since I put it into this kokedama, and none of the old leaves have died yet. I say yet because they do like to shed their older leaves, but so far so good. Again, under grow lights, very mild nutrient solution in the water. Coleus don't like a lot of feed, so I'm not going to overdo it with the nutrient, but I do want to give it something. But interestingly enough, nothing but yarn, wick system of yarn into the water with very mild nutrient solution, and so far so good. This cutting was obviously very small, but I'm going to continue to show you progress with this as well. And last up, we have the African violet. Boom! That we had originally in full water culture, but the roots were they were very thick, but not growing long enough, and it kept drinking so much of the water so quickly that I had to keep topping off the water in this vessel like every couple of days, and it just got to be a little bit too much. So I did another wick solution with nothing but yarn wrapped around the new roots. There's no soil, no moss in here, just yarn. And the wick goes into the reservoir. And it bloomed once. That flower since has perished, but I haven't cut it off yet because I'm seeing if this will, I tried to pollinate this one. I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know if the pollen I used, that I crossed with, was viable. We'll find out, but it has a new flower. And another 2 here, and it has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and now 5 new little bloom stalks coming up. So apparently it really enjoys being in this setup. It's under LED lights. They're not necessarily grow lights, but they're daylight LED. And as soon as I did that, that's when all of these bloom stalks started to pop up. So something's good, okay? And also you can see that there is some algae growing in the bottom of the vessel. That's another sign that there's a beneficial environment. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this. doing great. The fact that it's blooming so much is definitely a good sign. It continues to have new leaves in this crown. I'm really not worried about anything. I just got to keep this topped up. Very mild fertilizer solution. The feed is very mild in this one as well. I don't want to overdo anything, but it's happy, and so far so good. So we have so far 3 success stories with, I guess I could call this a kokodama, even though it's really not moss or soil in here at all. It's just the yarn wrapped around the new roots that developed in water culture, and it's blooming its head off. Anyway, I just want to share this with you. If you have any questions on anything that I've done, if you want to try it yourself, it's always so fun to experiment. So I definitely recommend it. And if you want to work together on it, we could do that. I am always available. I love talking plants and I love experimenting with plants. So please share, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in the next video.